Amelia ji, Sat Sri Akal. Good morning, Sat Sri Akal. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Sat Sri Akal.
First of all, uh, just a casual question. What does Penticton means though? You are from Penticton, Summerland.
Yeah, Penticton. We're in the Okanagan Valley. We've got two lakes and a
I know,
ski
but
hill and
what
lots of
Penticton, literal meaning of it?
a place to. It means a place to stay forever.
Yes, I got it. I was there once and I saw a sign, Penticton, a place to live forever. Great.
Yeah, it's a good slogan.
Great, and it's a beautiful area. Amelia, you are bringing a private member bill, and you are saying that we need to lower the threshold for recall process. Why so?
Well, the reason is that right now there's very little way to hold your elected official accountable in between elections. The current recall legislation has such a high threshold that it's never been met. It's been attempted 23 times, but has never actually succeeded. So I think it's really important for taxpayers and constituents that if their elected official really is, breaking promises, going against campaign promises, extremely bad behavior, I think it's important that they have an attainable means to hold that person accountable.
How do you define extremely bad behavior? And don't you think it'll be kind of chaos because once somebody wins and the next election comes after 4 years, and that elected individual will keep thinking about recall process in his or her mind because that's a threat sort of situation, and he won't be able to do MLA's job proper because he has to make his voters happy.
Well, I think you've brought up a really important point, and I want to be clear that there's no intention here that you should be chased out by an angry mob. It is important for MLAs to be able to be strong, take difficult positions at times, which is why the threshold is still going to be quite high under my private member's bill. So under the current legislation, you have to wait 18 months, you have to be in the electoral district, and then you have to collect 40% of signatures on paper from registered voters in only 60 days. So it's extremely difficult to do, almost impossible. Under my proposed legislation, you don't have to wait 18 months. You only have to wait 1 year. So it's not as though you could start a recall petition the day after an election if you didn't like the person that got elected. You couldn't do that. You would have to wait a minimum of a year. And the number of signatures required would be the same as the number of votes that MLA received in the last election. So that's still going to be several thousand, if not more. It's still a high threshold, but at least it's attainable.
Voters don't like elections much, even if they come after 4 years, 5 years. The federal elections, provincial elections, and municipal elections. There's so many other things happening, and sometimes the referendum happens. But the recall processes, even though it's initiated by certain individuals in the riding, don't you think they'll add on to the voters' fatigue?
Well, it's going to be up to the voters, really, if the recall succeeds, right? It's not as though just one individual can trigger that, because you're absolutely right. Nobody likes elections. We've had way too many. It's expensive. It's annoying for voters. So I understand that, but you would still have to have, approximately 10,000 signatures. So it's up to the voters to decide. And I think that's what's empowering about this legislation, is that it's up to them. If they don't think it's serious enough, they don't have to start a recall. They don't have to give their signature. If they do think that it is serious enough and it's worth it for them, then the power is in their hands.
Amelia, and the other factor is that if recall is successful and the election happens, even recall processes is a public funds and election BC resources and voters fatigue I already mentioned. Keeping those things in mind, my personal question is this something to do with your personal experience in the politics? Because you came from a lawyer's background, legal profession, and now you became MLA, and then nowadays you are an independent MLA. Your personal experience is the reason that you're trying to bring this private members bill, or is it constrained to only BC Conservative Party, or this is for the whole of BC?
So it's not brought by anything in my personal experience. The reason that I'm bringing it is because even before I was an MLA, I was a city councilor. So I've been hearing the same thing for 3 years from constituents, which is that they want a tool. So this is something that's been on my radar for years. It has nothing to do with any one particular party. And certainly it can't really be weaponized like that anyways, because as I said, only voters in that MLA's electoral district can do it. As an independent, it gives you the flexibility to bring forward pieces of legislation that are important that otherwise might not see the light of day. And I was very fortunate that I received unanimous votes for this to pass at first reading. So I take that as a signal that the other MLAs are getting the same feedback from their constituents, and I think it's a problem in many jurisdictions.
Amelia, in all fairness, I think MLA, if it becomes so easy to recall, any MLA will avoid some tough decisions, tough reforms, long-term policy decision-based issues. MLA will tend to avoid those. I'm giving example of Soji. Soji was very controversial, and I'm pretty sure that you know that certain ridings, certain MLAs lost the election because of these decisions, that their voters wanted something else, but the party overall or the government overall wanted to do something else. So sometime, if you are an elected individual, you have to go by the collective responsibility is also, something that somebody should keep in mind. Whereas recall process says that do bother about your people only, do not bother about the other things.
Can you explain a little more what you mean? Are you basically saying that
it'll be hard for any MLA elected individuals to strike a balance, that sometime, certain things that he says yes in the parliament, they are good overall, and they are, research-based issues that everybody agrees upon those. And there's sometimes party diktats as well. Party muzzles MLAs in a very subtle way. But easy recall process is going to create trouble for the MLAs.
Well, this is not an easy recall process. And I completely agree with you. You obviously know a bit of my background, that I think it's very important to stick to your election promises, even if that means leaving your party. I've had to take some very difficult principled stands on issues. So I completely support where you're coming from. But I just want to be very clear. You keep saying that this is an easy recall process, but it's not easy. It's still a high bar to meet. You would still have to have thousands and thousands of thousands, if not over 10,000 people making paper signatures within only 60 days. So it's not the kind of thing that the public is going to put together the resources to do on a whim if they're just angry about one little thing.
So let's conclude this. Now it's 18 months and 40% of the eligible voters, and how many days? And you are proposing what?
So I am proposing 1 year instead of 18 months so that it can start sooner. Just because, most jobs you have a performance review at 1 year. I think it makes more sense than to have them wait. And I'm proposing that It is the number of signatures you need is the same as the number of votes that you received. So that's going to be, in general, several thousand votes less than 40% of registered voters, because remember, a lot of people don't vote. So when we're talking about 40% of registered voters,
Just
that's
an
a lot.
example
That's
that if I'm that MLA, then last election I got, let's say, 20,000 votes, it'll be 20,000 signatures needed.
Exactly. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And how many days you are proposing? And what's the norm now?
So I haven't actually made a proposal to change the window of days. So right now it's a 60-day window. If this bill makes it to the committee stage, we may consider debating an amendment to widen the window. But that will, as you said, it is a delicate balancing act. You don't want to make it easy. I do think that widening the window by another 30 days would be fair, because 2 months is a pretty short amount of time to get everything organized, collect all those paper signatures. Remember, you can't collect them digitally. If this was digital, you could do it, in a few days. But paper signatures, you've got to, set up a booth or have somewhere people can go, open an office or knock on people's doors. There's a lot of logistics involved in something like that. So it currently stands at 60 days, but I'm toying with the idea of amending it to have a 90-day window.
Amelia, I want to thank you for your time. You are very accessible. And through you, I can see the face of politics in the days to come. You are very bold. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.